here we go. Islam Makhachev, definitive, beats Volkanovski, first round, TKO. Your immediate thoughts?
If you were to guess coming into this fight, there'd be one decision on the main card. Would you have guessed that it would be the Chimaev fight and not this one? I really did believe. I think when I'm watching it, the suddenness of this fight ending, seeing Volkanovski, there's a lot of things to process there. You just don't see Volkanovski getting wobbled and like where he's going to go out. You just don't see that. There's a novelty in play, and I guess I would say that I really anticipated this being a closer fight than people were giving credit. So in a weird way, like I guess you're skewing your lens a little bit and looking at Volkanovski going into the fight. But to me, this is Islam, right? Like this time we're going to have to talk about Islam as the guy because before I think, we kind of came out of the fight, even though Islam got his arm raised, the subtext to this whole fight was that we talked about Volkanovski and some of us were still putting him as ahead of him in the pound for pound discussion and all that stuff. And the fight was was kind of crazy in the way that it played out. This one was very definitive. And I think you got to give Islam his flowers at this point, man. That was just an amazing thing. Nobody does that to Volkanovski. And in real time, just watching that, it was a little bit surreal, I have to say, man. Even anticlimactic, if that can even be the case, because I think you're expecting it to be more competitive. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about two of the best pound for pound guys in the world, but for a guy to shut it down that much, that quickly, 3 minutes into the fight, pretty crazy. What a show of just how good he can be, how much it meant to him to do this, to put the exclamation mark on things, and dude, he is poised to be there for a long time, but I think this is Islam's night.
PT.
The fact that we talked about Volkanovski and how difficult this was going to be, the fact he was giving up the home advantage that he had the first time around, the fact that he was not going to have a full camp, I don't think that takes away anything from what Islam did today. And it's because of what Chuck said, because of the way we see Volk. It's a huge statement win. And this event, really, this whole event, and when they do go to Abu Dhabi, I always come away thinking, like, what a spotlight event these are for the Russian athletes. Like, it's incredible what they did tonight, and Islam was just the cherry on top. And before we get into it, I think we should have a moment's silence for the doctor I'm sure we're going to talk about later, who will probably never work again, based on what Dana White said to him after the Ankalaev and Walker fight. Tremendous. A lot happened tonight.
Yeah. In fact, you mentioned Chuck. Who would have thought that the main would go and in the first round and then the co-main would go the distance. I have to do a little like parlay thing for BetMGM, and my pick was co-main doesn't go the distance, main goes the distance. So I completely botched that, just like the doctor did.
Wait, before you proceed, I told Petesy this. You were not just before we started the tape.
It's incredible.
I should have mentioned it. I meant to mention this on the actual thing. We don't talk really gambling, but I was like, I wanted to do a 5-team parlay, like to point out a 5-team parlay where it would be the V as the 5-team parlay, because all of the V names and excluding whatever his name is, the guy who fought Nurmagomedov, excluding him because he's fighting the other V. But like if you were to bet all the Vs that I was talking about, they were 4-0-1, but the one would have been scratched because of the no contest that came through. So to Petesy's point, it's a crazy showcase. It really is. This Abu Dhabi thing becomes this crazy showcase for these guys from that part of the world.
Makhachev via KO or TKO plus 650. So I think a lot of people thought this would either go the distance, maybe a sub win, something of that nature. Shocking to see Volkanovski just hurt and rocked and eventually stopped. He had only been stopped once in his career. That was well before he made it to the UFC back in 2013. And the only stoppage loss of his career, the only other loss of his career was the very close decision loss to Islam back in February. So this is very rare stuff. And so I wonder, Chuck, do you think the fight goes any differently? I know this is almost like an impossible question to answer, but it's fun to ponder. There's two fun questions to ponder here, and maybe fun isn't the best word, especially if you're a Volkanovski fan. But number one, does the fight go any different if he gets a full training camp for this fight, in your opinion?
I would have to think it would go different. I mean, I just didn't think to see him get taken out that quickly. It feels like a safe bet to think that he would be mentally prepared, more physically prepared. It's crazy, though, because out of all the people, and this is why I was really banking on it being a competitive fight, of all the people that you thought could step into an impossible situation and still, if not shine, look very good, and you'd see that dog that's in him, it would be a guy like Volkanovski. it's a very difficult thing. But I mean, honestly, man, I don't doubt Volkanovski. It like we saw what he did with his first fight. I think it would have played out closer to that. Let's put it that way. I think if he'd had the proper time to come in there, and again, this everything was basically steered this time towards Islam. He's already there. I don't think the weight issue was ever going to be a problem or anything like that. So did Islam underperform in the first one? I don't know. Some people kind of believe that, but at the same time, I'm like, I think Volkanovski pushes it to like the whole 25 minutes, and we see ups and downs if he has that full camp. I think it would have been a very close fight.
What do you think, PT?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you could see it in his condition. Obviously the man's a beast, but I mean, he didn't look as beastly as he did the first time they fought. And
I saw a little love handle action there. And
yeah,
at the beginning, I was like,
know,
oh no.
I'd still be happy enough if I was in that kind of shape.
Oh, you know yourself. But I'm just saying, not what we usually see out of Volkanovski.
Yes.
Blame him. He lost like what, 26 pounds or something?
Of course. Yeah, it's a different beast altogether. But in saying that, lads, like the sell of this fight is it being Volkanovski. It's because it's him. Can he do this magical thing? He gives you that belief, and that's what fans want. That's what media wants. That's what compels you. And given that, I still come away, despite us knowing all about this, I still come away thinking that pretty much, that has escalated Islam in that pound for pound conversation now. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you have to play with the cards that you're dealt with. You can't take anything away from Islam because Volk is taking this fight on short notice. He beat the guy who was in pull out. He didn't cut Oliveira. I mean, you just have to you just have to look at the results. I had Volk above Islam. I have to put Islam above Volk now. Volk took this fight. He wasn't forced to take this fight. He knew the risks. Now let me ask you this question. This is the second one that is interesting to ponder, Chuck. Do you think Volk will regret this? Because it's not just about, you now will never get a shot against Islam, at least not for the immediate future, right? It's going to be a while. He might eventually get back there and maybe not a shot at the 155 belt. But it does like once you see a guy get stopped who had been so dominant for so long, it does take away some of the aura of invincibility. And more importantly than not getting a shot at 155, not getting the aura going away, most importantly, the damage that it has now done to you. Some people never respond the same way from a stoppage loss. Some people are never the same again. That could change the trajectory of your life. Do you think that he will regret this decision? He will live to regret this one?
No matter what. And I mean, you've talked to many fighters. I've talked to many fighters about this. When you get stopped, it does take away something. It takes away something. It's in your mind now. Things that you might have been a little more carefree with, you're no longer, you're maybe clutching it a little tighter. You're not going to go in there and throw like with the normal instinctual stuff that you're used to. It does affect you. And in that way, man, I mean, you just kind of nailed it. I do think that he'll regret it on some level. We've seen, like, even when Izzy went up and fought for the 205 belt, it was a little bit, I don't know, he appeared a little gun shy as he returned back. And it seemed like a while before he got back into form. And of course, I don't know, it's a sliding doors thing. Like, you're never sure, like, what happens if he, never takes that fight, like how things look. But sometimes these guys just don't come back exactly. So he didn't get knocked out, but Volk did. And I'm like, it's one of those things. We've seen it a million times, man. A guy who has looked, he can be going for 10 years, and then suddenly get knocked out or just worked really hard like that, and it changes him. It'd be interesting to see. I thought it was, we were talking about this January fight with Ilir Topuria, and is it going to happen, all this, which sounds kind of ludicrous, right? Like, but he still kind of wants it. Volkanovski still wants to go back to 145 and all that. I think he does like to just be like, I don't want to think too hard about anything. I just want to go in there, focus on my next guy and get it done. But I do think in the back of his mind now, you're going to be contemplating. People are going to be talking about it. There's a head kick that puts him on skates and suddenly he's getting blasted out of there. It's going to be in his mind.
I think, as I said on the show in the lead up, here's my thinking on the situation. Here was the equation going in before he took this fight. I think on the strength of the first fight against Volk, the debate it caused, the amount of people fighting his corner, I honestly believe that if Volk had have lost to Topuria in January, if things are meant to go the way they did, I think he could have said, right, I'm moving up to fight Islam at 155. I have unfinished business there. This is what the world wants to see. And people still would have bought it. The situation he's in now is he's just, he's just the featherweight champion of the world. But I don't think he has a clear path to a fight with Islam if he continues to reign, which it definitely looks like it will based on what we saw tonight, because it wasn't just the head kick. Every second of that fight felt miserable for Volkanovski. Like there was he stopped the takedown attempt, but from then on, he was getting knees to the ribs. Everything was uncomfortable, and Islam was just swarming him. But I have to say, the way he spoke on the mic, and we often talk about, should you interview guys who've just been KO'd? The way he spoke afterwards gave me a lot of confidence that he is still 100%. I thought he was a class act, as he always is. He spoke with great clarity, perfect diction and everything like that. So hopefully, he doesn't have that damage. But of course, I feel like if you're trying to plan out your career here, he will regret this decision.
Yeah, I think when the dust settles and he thinks, okay, if I would have, look, hindsight is 2020. He was very confident. He bet on himself. He wanted this. Even as he's walking out, he's like, I'm putting it all on the line. So he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to say like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. But it's hard not to look at the result now, and we'll see how this story unfolds. Maybe he gets back on the horse and fights in January and he's all good and this is a distant memory. But this could be a real sort of turning point in a very negative way for the trajectory of his career, considering he was a guy who was looking so dominant, so good at 145. And there is a lesson to be learned from his good friend and teammate, Israel Adesanya. He wants to get back on the horse and fight in 3 months in Toronto. I can foresee a situation where you fight a really tough guy in Ilia Topuria. You don't recover. You don't give your body enough time, to fully, get back on track. And all of a sudden we say, holy smokes, he just took 3 fights from July to January, and that was a mistake, right? Like what is Israel saying right now? It was too many fights.
Yeah.
I put my body through too much. In the midst of that stretch, what happened? He got stopped by Alex Pereira. Yes, he came back, and yes, he won. But like these things take a toll, and so I hope Volk doesn't. I don't want to say make the same mistake, but I hope that he learns the lesson that Israel is learning right now, and maybe January isn't the right thing to do. I know he wants to be busy, but maybe it's not the smartest thing for him.
We praise these guys. We praise these guys all the time, though. Real quick, Pete, like we praise these guys for jumping in there like this. I think that Volkanovski and Izzy are godsends to the UFC because they are just event fillers, and they're big. They're going to go in there and do their job, but they've just been so busy, and we praise that. But this is the other side of it, right? Like it's the other side of it, and this is why guys don't traditionally do this. I think that one slip, wherever it occurs, right, can be bad, but then a couple of slips and all this stuff, it's like it just changes everything. So the risk, I don't know if it ever, the risk was huge in that sense for Volkanovski, and we don't know. We'll see how it plays out for him, but potentially could end up being, like you just said, something that diverts whatever great thing he was really on pace to do. It could affect that.
You get the feeling that there had to be at least one dissenting voice in the room when Volk decided to take this fight. One coach, someone there had to be like, I don't think this is a good idea for all the reasons we outlined. Well, it's time to listen to that guy now. Now you've got to protect yourself now.